Step 3. Writing the protocol. Where, why, and how work is done.
It is best to do things systematically, since we are only human, and disorder is our worst enemy. Hesiod, ancient Greek poet.
Systems management is the key component to a successful business, especially your dairy farm. Systems management brings simplicity, order, structure, and consistency to your business. You have built the foundation of your business by creating an organizational chart and answered the question who. Then you added objectives and goals, giving your employees a purpose and understanding why they are important to the success of your business, answering the questions what and when. Next, we will define where, why, and how. This will give structure and consistency to work that is done on a daily basis. All work must have structure. Work is something that we all just do. However, just because the cows get fed and milked every day, doesn't mean that you are as successful or profitable as you can be. There are often many ways of doing one and the same job. But what you need to define is how work is done on your farm. The milking parlor is a great example. If there is no structure in your milking routine, will your cows get milked the same way every time? If you hire new employees, will they do it your way or their way? Or will they do it the neighbor's way because that is where they first learned how to milk cows? Having no structure creates chaos and unpredictable results. If you have no structure in your milking routine, will your cows get milked every day? Of course they will, but can you have predictable results? Can you control the process? Can you control supplies and usage? If something goes wrong, such as an elevated somatic cell count, can you easily identify the problem and correct it? On farms with a structured and disciplined milking routine, there is one way to milk cows, and one way only. It is clear to employees, it is clear to management, and when taught and supervised, it creates predictable results which are easily manageable. Creating a structure for work, how we do things, creates consistency. Consistency creates predictability. Predictability is easy to manage. Structure equals consistency. Consistency equals predictability. Making the right decision. Every day your employees make decisions that affect the profitability of your business. Do they make the right decision? Do they make decisions in the best interest of the farm's profitability? Do they make the decision you would make? Without a system, employees can only make the best decision they know how. But is it the right one? Is it the one you want them to make? By creating a system of work and implementing protocols, SOPs, and decision trees, you give your employees sound instructions for making decisions and creating consistency in your work system. Defining work as a system. Work must be broken down in its simplest form to ensure consistency and predictability. Work is a system that is made up of many different processes. Each process is made up of several different tasks. Once you define each task in the order they are to be done in, and who, when, where, and how they are accomplished, and convey it to your employees, you now have a system of work. A system that will allow you to consistently produce better results, give your employees sound direction, and give you an easier, more productive dairy farm to manage. Creating your system of work, protocols, and SOPs. In this section, we will again use our templates and examples. Examples in this section are examples of protocols done on some of the top dairy farms in the world today. There are several different styles, types, and formats, from simple to fancy, black and white to color, from plain text to pictures, and long and short. Each style and format has a slightly different use, and it is up to you to decide which is best for your farm and employees. The best protocol format is one that, given the situation, does the best job of accurately transmitting the necessary information and facilitates consistent implementation of the protocol. Note: the more detailed your protocols are, the better. The main objective in writing protocols is for your employees to not have any question on how a task is to be performed. Think of it in terms of someone giving you driving directions. The more detail they make it, the easier and faster it is for you to arrive at your destination. Types of SOPs and protocols. Written text. With this type of protocol, your description of the task is in written form. It is a step-by-step written text instruction of how to perform a task. Flowcharts. A flowchart is a pictorial representation of the steps in a given process. The steps are presented graphically in sequence so that employees can examine the order presented and come to a common understanding of how the process operates. Flowcharts are the easiest way to picture a process, especially if it is complex and has decisions. Flowcharts should include every activity in the process. To draw a flowchart, think of the tasks and decisions made during a process and write them down in order. Then, map these out in flowchart format using appropriate symbols for the start and end of a process, for actions to be taken and for decisions to be made. Steps in flowcharting a process. 1. Decide on a process to create. 2. Define the boundaries of the process, the beginning and the end. 3. Describe the beginning step of the process. 4. Ask yourself, what happens next? And add that step to the flowchart. Continue mapping out the steps connected by one-way arrows. 5. When a decision point is reached, write the decision in the form of a question in a rectangle or diamond shape, and develop the yes and no paths. Each yes or no path must re-enter the process or exit somewhere. 6. Repeat steps 4 and 5 until the last step in the process is reached. 7. Describe the ending step. When drawing a flowchart, constantly ask yourself and your team, what happens next? Is there a decision made at this point? Does this reflect reality? Who else knows this process? Etc. Finally, challenge your flowchart to make sure that it's an accurate representation of the process and that it represents the most efficient way of doing the job. When possible, do a walkthrough of the process to see if any steps have been left out or extras added that shouldn't be there. Management tip. You can also use the flowchart to troubleshoot problems or increase work efficiency. Instead of drawing a flowchart representing how the process is supposed to operate, determine how it actually does operate. A good flowchart of a bad process will show errors in the process and show if there are illogical, wasteful, or incorrect steps in the process that are causing wasted time, wasted money, or poor results. Benefits of using flowcharts. 1. Simple to create. 2. Forces you as a manager and your team to think through the way you do your work. 3. Visually describes what is next. 4. Enables employees to make correct and consistent decisions. It is an excellent training guide for new employees. 5. Can be easily laminated and posted on the wall for future reference. 6. Teaches employees to work logically through a process. 7. Easy to supervise the process. Note: when developing SOPs and protocols, think of how your employees would understand and learn best. What is their education level? Can they read? What is their native language? Often combining text with a diagram and/or pictures is a good way of clearly showing how work is to be done, and bridge language barriers. Here we see some different examples of flowcharts. Figure 14 is an example of a decision tree for visual heat detection. In Figure 15, we see a timeline flowchart for a synchronization protocol. As you know, there are many different ways to do things on a farm. As a manager, you do not want your employees just doing one of those many ways. You need consistency. You need your employees to do it your way, to follow your protocols. This is why it is so important to develop your own SOPs and protocols for your own farm, and train your team to follow them in detail. Remember, developing a system of work creates structure. Structure gives you consistency. Consistency gives you predictability. Predictability is easy to manage. Developing SOPs and protocols. Step 1. Read the article, Developing Effective Protocols, located in the rear of the guidebook or in the Management Articles folder. Step 2. Pick a process to start working on. Note: many farms start with the milking process because it is the center of the dairy operation, and most managers usually find it the easiest to start with. But pick a process to start with where you feel the most comfortable or the most need. Management tip: As a manager, it is not necessarily up to you to create the protocols. Your job is to direct and assist in the process, not to do the process. Remember, the more you involve your team, the more effective the supervision and buy-in will be. Employees often find it easier to perform and supervise SOPs and protocols that they help to develop. There are generally two different ways you as a manager can proceed with Step 3. 3A. Department supervisor works with an outside specialist in creating the protocols. An outside specialist would be like your veterinarian, milk quality representative, nutritionist, consultants, extension agent, etc. These individuals are the people you often work with and are the specialist in their field. Example: your fresh cow herdsman works with your vet in writing the fresh cow protocol. 3B. Department supervisor works with you, the manager, in creating the protocols. The same as 3A, but you are the specialist. Note: using an outside specialist like your vet, nutritionist, etc. has several advantages. 1. It allows you to involve professional people that are specialized in a particular area. 2. Frees up your time so you can continue to manage the farm. 3. Allows for greater and more detailed input. For example, the veterinarian can have a lot of input on drug usage, withdraw time, timing, technique, etc. 4. Builds better teamwork. 5. Promotes responsibility and professional growth of your middle managers and supervisors. 6. Everybody is on the same page and agreement. Step 3A. Conduct a meeting with your department supervisor, outside specialist, and yourself. Review the different examples provided and discuss each person's role in the process. Step 3B. Same as 3A, but without outside specialist. If you choose 3B, the remaining steps you as the manager will do instead of the outside specialist. Step 4. Creating a weekly schedule. Go to the protocol example section in the back of the user's guide. Using a whiteboard, flip chart, piece of paper, or template called blank weekly work schedule, create a weekly schedule of the department you have chosen to start with. Note: if you already have a weekly hour-by-hour schedule, you can use that. Starting with the schedule accomplishes several objectives at once. 1. It helps you create a weekly schedule if you don't already have one. 2. It is a good handout to give to new employees, so they know generally what is done every day and when. 3. It helps you understand what SOPs and protocols you need to develop. 4. It gives you a base for where to start creating your protocols. Example: the chart in Figure 18 is an example of the first several hours of a fresh cow weekly schedule done hour by hour. The full schedule is in the Fresh Cow and Schedule section. As you study it, you will notice several things. 1. Their day is organized. 2. Their day is consistent. 3. It would be easy for a new employee to quickly understand the daily routine. 4. There is an obvious system of work. 5. It is made up of several tasks defined within each hour. These tasks are going to help us make our SOPs and protocols. Not every detail of work is written in the daily schedule, just the main process. From the main process, we can often break it down into detailed SOPs. For example, breeding cows is a process, but there are several SOPs that make up the process, such as 1. What cow to breed, breeding decision tree. 2. What semen to use, semen selection, SOP. 3. Thawing semen, semen thawing, SOP. 4. Loading the breeding gun. 5. Proper insemination, proper AI technique, SOP. 6. Where to breed the cow. 7, etc. Management tip. A good way to do schedules and SOPs is for the department supervisor and their team to sit down and explain the daily routine to someone not affiliated to your process, meaning someone who is not a part of the daily routine. This again is where your veterinarian, nutritionist, consultant, etc. can be very helpful, or even someone in the office, your spouse, or whoever. Someone who does not know your process very well will usually ask questions that to you and your team are just understood. Remember, one of your goals in writing protocols is to have every detail clear and understood, so that even a new employee with no prior knowledge will understand the process. Let's look at the fresh cow team's first task of the day, which is observe fresh cows, Pen 2, as they walk to the milking parlor. Figure 19 is an example of the SOP made for this first process. It can also be written like the example below in Figure 20. Step 5. Creating SOPs. SOPs can be done several different ways. Remember, the best SOP format is one that, given the situation, does the best job of accurately transmitting the necessary information and facilitates consistent implementation. Once you have created your weekly schedule, together with your outside specialist or management team, start using the examples and templates as a guide in creating your own processes, based on what you do according to your schedule. After the completion of this process, move on to the next one, repeating the same steps. Step 6. Review. After completion of your SOPs and protocols in each department, it is important to have a meeting with the owners, manager, supervisor, outside specialists, to review them. This helps everyone understand the SOPs, allows for opportunity to talk about possible changes or additions, and to discuss monitoring the performance. Key points of protocols and SOPs. 1. All work must have structure. 2. Structure equals consistency equals predictability. 3. Predictability equals a controllable process. 4. The best protocol format is one that accurately transmits the necessary information and facilitates consistent implementation. 5. The more you involve your team, the more effective the protocol will be. 6. Involving outside specialist greatly enhances your protocols.